All right, so now that we've completed our paginator, let's move on to the next step, and that is, of course, to now create new users in the system. So what we're going to do in this one is we're going to build out a users component with a form. So let's go to our code editor, and we'll get started on that. Now, back in our user management dashboard, we'll go out, we'll close paginator and paginator details here. And right here, I'm going to start by creating a button. And this button is going to have a class of btn, btn-success, actually outline-success, and btn-small. Okay. And one other one, we're going to float this off to the right. That's one way to float it off to the right. And we'll put, basically, we'll do i.fas.fa-plus. And this will be basically add user. Okay. Let's come back here. We'll refresh the page, see what we come up with. Perfect. So we come up with this. Now, every time we click this, we want to basically switch over to our create a user form element or form. So let's go down here and we're going to create another file. This file is going to be create user.view. All right, and this one we're actually going to put card and MT3 for margin on the top, dash body, and we'll say H3 create new user. Okay, we'll go back to user management in here. Now let's import that. Import create user from // exactly create user.view. Refresh that there. Perfect. Now we need to register the component in our dashboard component here. So we'll say create user, and we'll go ahead and we will add that particular component down here. So this will be create user. And all we need to do here is say v-if active dot create user. Now I'm adding this in here. It's a property we're going to add to this particular object over here. So let's say active equals create user. We're going to add another one in here as well, and that's going to be our dashboard. And that's going to default to true. So what we're going to do in order to display components that we want to use is we're basically going to say if it's true, display this component. If it's false, then obviously don't display this component. So in here we have v-active.createUser. Up here in this particular component, we should be adding the same here, v-if equals active.dashboard. So if that's true, then we want to show it. Now we're going to create another method in here which is going to help us to toggle between those items, and that is going to be called setActive. Function, and we'll call this component here is what we'll pass through. So what we want to do is we want to say object.keys. We want to iterate over this whole array. Sorry, we want to iterate over all the keys within this particular object, the active object, and we want to set all the values to false, and then we want to set the one that we've passed through as true. So object.keys, then we'll say this.active, and then we want to go for each because that will basically give us an array that we now have to work with. We'll say element, and we'll say element. This ends up being our key coming through. So we want to say this.active element or key. Let's change the wording a little bit in here so that I'm not getting confused. Okay, key. And we want to assign that a value of false. Now what we want to do, what's going to get passed through in here is actually going to be a string. And what I want to do here is now say this dot active, specify the component, and then set that equal to true in there. Now when we click on this item in here, we want to basically toggle what is true, what is not. So if we're going to add a user, then at click, actually I don't think I need to add prevent in there, click, and we'll say set active is going to be create user. Okay, make sure that lines up with our data here. Yeah, create user. So let's go, so now we brought in that component. We got a little bit of data in there just to show that the component's actually loading. And now we'll go over to our page here, we'll refresh it to update all of our changes, and we'll click user. So now in here we have create new user. That's the component that flashes up. Now before we get into actually building out the form, I'm going to show you how to toggle back to that one by emitting an event from this particular component that the parent component will pick up and then use that set active on there. So we'll come over here under create user, we're going to say v-on view dashboard, v-on view dashboard equals set active, very simple, we'll say dashboard in there. Now where we're going to emit that event from is we'll add a button up here to create new user. Small button dot ptn dash outline dash primary, and I want to put a little bit of margin to the right here for us, and so I'll say margin right of 3. Now I'm going to also use a font awesome icon in here, and that's going to be the same chevron left we used in the video where we did our pagination. And next to this I'll say back. So from here what I want to do is I want to basically at click equals emit. I'll go back there, it said view dashboard, so view dashboard. Okay. Okay, now we're good to go. So let's see what that looks like here. Okay, so we got user, and then we go back. User, back. Lots of fun, isn't it? I'm just going to put one more class in here, and that is going to be btn-small. Okay, we'll see what that looks like for us now. User, back, user, back. So this is how we're going to navigate between components that we're going to use, and we're obviously going to have multiple components in this. We have the actions. Under actions, you know, we're going to have to add a component for editing, for viewing logs, for maybe viewing more user details, things like that. So in the next video, what we'll do is we'll build out our actual form.